So we're starting on this guy, Gahliant. He's from Epica Tales. I could probably get the link to it. Epica Tales. Hey. Well, how about that? It's just epicatales.com. Yeah, so I'm gonna work on this guy, but he's so he's supposed to be like a half elf, but he's giving me a very specific vibe. And if anyone is familiar with the Netflix version of Castlevania, he's giving me serious Dracula vibes. So I think we're gonna paint him up like a vampire, like Dracula. Congrats on your Nova semi-private class selling out so fast. I missed it, and that was 30 seconds. Well, appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you there. Sorry you couldn't get into the semi-private, but hopefully you got into one of the other classes if you felt like it. Hello. So we're going for we're going to go with a pretty much monochromatic color scheme here. I'm grabbing some like tonal grays, some red, but basically everything's just going to be red. Some variation of red and gray. Get a little bit of this kind of pinkish tone for areas where I want a little bit more flesh color. And then we're going to use this to kind of highlight and desaturate. And then we might have to go a little bit brighter, but we'll see. I might need a white at some point. Well, you know what? Forget it. Let's just throw the white on here. Some white. No, it's not a clickbait title. It's actually a class 4 colorblind people. All right, so we're going to start with this very deep red. We'll mix a little gray into it to add some light. Maybe just a bit of everything. I don't want the shadows to be super dark. Oh, you guys can't see that, huh? Hold on, let me get the palette cam right. There we go. Okay, so I basically have the lighting direction I want. I want to go for a quite dramatic lighting scheme here. So I'm going to start with the shadows of his face, and I'm just going to block in the light and shadow. Good evening. Yeah, I had Joaquin share it with me, and immediately was like, that's Dracula. Maybe way back in here we can push the shadows a little more. Hi, Sean. So this is going to look quite red at the moment, but as we apply quite a bit of gray to the skin, you're going to see a lot of this color goes out, and it's going to give him that pale flesh tone that we're looking for. That undead kind of skin tone. Hi, Black Mane. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. And though this is in light, we're going to get just a little shadow down in here. And I'm not worried about trying to get the shape, like little mid-tone shapes right. I just want to establish that light and shadow. So those are kind of our main shadow areas, besides the eye. I'm also kind of ignoring the beard or the goatee and mustache at the moment. Not really thinking too much about them. Hola, ¿qué tal? All right. So now for our light areas, I want this, I'll grab just a touch of the pink. So you can see I'm making this very grayish tone here. Sí, un poco. So it's a slightly warm gray that will make colder as we kind of work more into the lights. But you can also see I'm just ignoring these kind of areas where like you have all these micro volumes. We'll reinforce those micro volumes later. The Vladimir Tipetsky. Probably saying that wrong. Okay, so the base coat. All right. Now, I'm probably going to want some light getting onto the other side of his face, but not too much. So I'm going to mix up a kind of intermediate color here. I want to think about like where on this other side some of this light might hit. Something like that, maybe. We can always adjust the shape later, but it's important on this side that we don't have much of that shadow tone. I don't, this is all quite dark. We want to get that really dramatic lighting. Okay. Hola, Joaquin. ¿Qué pasa, señor? Oh, thanks, Wilkes Dog. I was going to actually ask about that if anybody else watched the, or if anybody watched the orc video. Okay, let's push the light a little bit more. So we know his forehead's going to be quite bright. So the lighting is coming in from this way. And we want to think about where these main, where this main lights are going to hit. And we can kind of follow the lighting from the camera to sort of see based on this angle, right, where these lights are going to hit. Cool. Glad to hear it, Crushing Mort. I got my goblins too. They're in the box right over there. One of my favorite figures of last year, sculpts. We're going for myth. We're doing Dracula. The Dracul. I'm also trying to get some of this really deep red into some of these recesses. And then like back in here, I might have to add a little black in some parts just to darken it even further. Trying to avoid using any black right now because I want to create a strong contrast between his hair in his skin to really give him that super pale look. It is a whole red, some kind of succubus skin or something. I don't know. Ground brown chimera. It's just a warm brown, cold grayish blue, and white. So you can see when I go to use this gray blue for the lights, just how close to white that appears. That's going to make the shadows feel a little more desaturated or more reddish, just because of how desaturated and kind of complementary this slightly greenish gray is. I haven't decided yet, Joaquin. I might. I can't say yet, but we're going to have a big project for stream. It'll be multiple figures. Competition winning worthy? What competition? It's also not really for me to say. Feels a little arrogant if I was to say yes. So you can see how well this like bluish green works with the red now to really kind of warm up some of the shadows of that red. The more of this grayish blue we add, the more skin tone this like reddish gray is going to appear. I've only, well, hundreds of hours. It's hard to say, like, when painters say, like, how many hours they spend on stuff. I take that with a grain of salt because everyone paints at different speeds. What I might do in 6 hours might take someone else 20, you know? I've won some pretty big awards from painting a model in like 2 weeks, you know? So, yes, that's many, many hours within that 2 weeks, but do I use anything? So when I'm thinning paint, right, I have my water here, okay? So I have my water cup, my water pot thing, dip. And then I have what you guys can't normally see is there's a paper towel off to the side. After I like rinse my brush, I will remove some of the water from the brush. Depending on how much water I remove, how much water is left in the brush, that'll thin out my paint some. So I don't add any, like some people do this and they'll just like put water, which you guys can't really see. I guess you can see it a tiny bit. they'll put like water on the palette and like mix water in on the palette. I don't do that. I just go based off of how much water is like currently in the brush. Sometimes I want it. Most of the time I'm painting pretty thick though. Not until much later in the process do I start to really thin out the paint. Will there be the World Model Expo in 2025 in France just near my house? Yeah, I'm going to be there. I will definitely be there. And I am currently planning something special for the World Model Expo. Yeah, a special piece. Got to start planning now so it can get done in time. So here I could just start to place some of these smaller volumes, but those will get softened. Okay, as I'm doing the lips, maybe I want to add just a little bit more of this red into them. Just a touch. I don't want to add too much. Just to alter the coloration a little bit. Now see, you can see that I used some more water here to kind of, and you can see that this is significantly thinner. And then depending on how much paint I add to that thin mix, I can get it more and more glaze. So if I want to add a little bit of red around his nose, maybe to his cheek here, just a touch. He's a vampire, but we need to put some color into his skin, right? Can't just make him all gray. A vampire. Vampiro, right? I think is correct. Bonjour. Okay, need to line around his nose a touch. Here I can get this small volume in the corner of his nose. And we get a little shadow there. And then up here around the bridge of the nose and the shadow of the eyelid. Well, keep watching. Also, if you if you're interested in learning more, I've got the YouTube channel with all the old live streams that have a bunch of information. So check out the YouTube. You can watch all the old videos. I try and explain my thought process, but sometimes it can become a little repetitive. So we also just chat a little bit. But if you have any specific questions, feel free to ask. All right, so here, right, we've got this kind of shape of his lower lip. We want to get some shadow into there. Maybe not as strong as like the pure deep shadow. We can kind of work those together. I think this figure's quite got a really nice face sculpt on it. Good job, Joaquin. You're pretty good at this. Okay, now just a little bit of light on his eye here. All right, we can kind of get that shape. And kind of the cast shadow of his nose. Sheer force of will, Wilkes dog. Okay, let's look at his cheekbone kind of over here. If the lighting is coming in this way, his cheekbones might be a little high at the moment. So the shadow might need to come down just a little bit. Certain shadows we want really subtle, right? We don't want to overdo it. And then also as it comes down his jaw, we need to work a little bit of more kind of mid-tone like shadows down here because his jaw is gonna, okay. See this as like a thing people get, they kind of mess up a lot. Your jaw, no one's jaw is perfectly square, right? It is not like a hard line. So you do have to have like a small gradient that kind of rounds over the jaw. Quick question, I'm a beginner. Is that a good thing? Is it a good thing to use washes? I doubt, because by shading yourself, you definitely learn and improve that. No, washes are fine. Washes have their uses. Just don't use them for everything. Like if you're doing chainmail or something, dude, washes are the way to go, right? To get the shadows on stuff like chainmail. There's just things that they're not super useful for. Like don't use them on capes, right? Because all washes flow into recesses. Capes don't shadow like that, and you'll see when I paint this fabric. They don't work the same. Like volumetric shadows, you can't really get volumetric shadows with washes. All right, let's push the light even more. Now we're really getting into the like final lights. Gonna make him very pale. Hello? Sunrise, hello. I guess it's silly sunrise. Okay, we'll get a little bit of light into here. Oh, hi. Hi, Sebastian. I do when I'm using fine art paints, or when I'm using like pure pigment paints. If I'm using like phthalo blue, right? If I'm using phthalo blue, if I'm using cadmium yellow, but I'm not, I'm using pre-mixtures. How do I feel about heavy bodies? I don't like heavy bodies. They are not my thing. They have their uses. I'm not telling you don't use them. Okay, this is not me saying don't use them for mini painting. They're just not my thing. Okay, I want to make that perfectly clear. Just because I don't particularly like something doesn't mean that you wouldn't. I also don't really use oils. I find them to be too slow. I don't like the drying time, but there are plenty of good mini painters who do like oils. I also don't like the shine of oil paints. On miniatures, you have to basically go over top of them anyways. But just because I don't like something doesn't mean it's not good. Alfonso Banshee uses oil paint or heavy bodies a lot also. He also uses inks a lot. They're just not my thing. Use what you are comfortable with. All right, a little more shine. Hi, Simon the Sorcerer. How are you? Well, this was kind of fast. painting his face went by kind of quick. Okay, let's look at the shadow here. So we've got a shadow kind of like this. So if we want, we can, so this piece won't really get a cast shadow, but if we want to paint a cast shadow of his hair, we can totally do that. Just have to think about where that shape would go. Right, something like that. My roommate is cursing at Final Fantasy VII. Right, so we create a bit of a shadow from his hair. We could put another little one here, but most of this is going to get covered with black anyway, so it's not super important. And then under here, under his eye, we need quite a dark shadow. Okay, so we've done the light side of his face. Now we need to work on the shadow side. No, he's playing Rebirth, which like just came out, the remake. Black. Where's the good black? Where's the black? I don't know. Here. I did not get the lady. Wouldn't it be easier to paint the ears at the same time? Yeah, probably. But it's not hard. I mean, I already have the tones here, so it's just mixing up, and maybe a little extra pink in the ears. Maybe I want his ears to be slightly more pinkish. I know I'm going to go around all the hair and everything, which is why I'm not really too concerned about the ears at the moment, because I have to paint his hair. And there's a good chance, like while I'm doing brush strokes on the hair, that I'll mess up the ears. So that's kind of why I'm not stressing the ears at the moment. All right. So now we're going to take and we're going to get a nice, really dark color for the shadows on this side. So we already did these. This side of the face is already in shadow, right? We need to add a little light to that lower eyelid also. But then there's a thing called occlusion shadows, which are shadows within shadows, right? You can see that, I don't know if I can really demonstrate this to you guys, but let's see if I can pull something off here. Okay, so you can see that there's basically, this is in light, this is kind of in shadow, right? But see, when two objects are like on top of each other, or like the shadows in between my fingers, even though all of this is light, there's shadows here. Those are called occlusion shadows. The same thing happens with other shadows, right? Like even though my eyes are in shadow, right? There's shadows here. There are deeper shadows within the wrinkles because no bounce light or ambient light can get to them. So we have to account for that. We can't just do a flat shadow tone across the whole thing. In areas where there's deep recesses, we have to account for some occlusion. Typically these parts here, like right here, tend to be very dark. Who's that? Storm Drill, hello. But it is important we make them kind of subtle, right? There's not a big difference in shadow, but there is some shadow. You guys want me to paint a drow on stream? I don't know. Maybe. I have a plan to do a drow, but I don't think it will be on stream. Just some little cleanup. All right, so that's kind of the look we're going for. We could add like one more light to his forehead, I guess, of pure white. No, man, I don't have any. I didn't do anything for Golden Demon. I always pick the golden angle and paint based on the golden angle. Then I fill in. For this guy, for me, it's like this. I want to see. I don't like it from straight on. I like it like this. You can see a little bit more of his ear. You get not a profile shot, but like a 3/4. I think this figure looks good at a 3/4 angle. some of that nice deep red around his eyes. I am going to give him red eyes, but this I'm just trying to get the lining around his eyes. That eye might have, the lining around this one might have to be a little darker because it's on the shadow side. You know what? While we're doing this, I think I'm going to give him a little bit of a shadow here also. Just a little bit on the side of his face from his hair. Want to define the smile line a little bit, not too much. If you do go too much, it looks weird, but just a touch. Enhance his scowl a little. All right, let's take some of the black. Dracula. I actually don't know why in Dracula they this is red, is whole red. Yes, I did watch Castlevania. The statement I was just going to make is I don't know why in Castlevania they give him elf ears. Maybe just to make him look a little more demonic, perhaps. He had some in Symphony of the Night, too. Even though he's gray-haired in Symphony of the Night. But we're going for the slightly younger, debonair Dracula. I guess that, yeah, maybe they're supposed to be bat ears. That makes sense. Look at the big brain on Simon. Really got that pencil beard thing going on too. All right. So on the sculpt, I think Joaquin did it so that the mustache and beard connects, but we're gonna intentionally leave it so it doesn't. So I'm gonna paint over the part that doesn't connect, or I'm gonna paint over the connection a little bit and leave them disconnected on purpose. So I'm just being careful here, just trying to get this shape right. And then I can come back and add highlights and small brushwork to his facial hair. While we're at it, I'm not going to base coat all of the hair black at this moment, but what I am going to do is I'm just going to go around and try and line, or be careful and line around his face. Really want to frame his face with the black. That sharp contrast is going to really like make his pale skin stand out more. Gotta give him some crazy eyebrows too. Heck yeah, get both of them and do it. Almost. Just trying to be a little extra careful around some of these parts. Isn't Fabio like the most photographed person ever? Or like he's on the most media ever or something like that. Forget what the statistic is, but there's something funny like that. I think they still use him. I want to give him, so I'm kind of drawing, I'm going with the sculpt here, but also I'm going to give him the little like peak to his eyebrow to give him that kind of bat wing shape. Sort of play up that that design. Okay. No, he said muscular. So he can't be talking about me. Okay. Eyebrows. He's getting there. He's starting to look Dracula. All right, glasses time. I need to better eyes so I can paint the eyes. Shape is almost right. Okay. And then add a little red to that for the other side. You see how close to not pure white I am here for the eye on this side, because this one's in shadow. And I screwed that one up a little bit, but we can fix that. Not necessarily. Like, look at mine, right? This is a slightly lighter value than this. I mean, it has a lot to do with skin tone, right? But this is darker than this. So, but then if you go like this, right, it's different. So, it's slightly lighter than whatever, even on someone who's quite pale like me, right? It all depends on if it's facing towards the light or not, like, but typically it should be a little lighter than the actual skin tone. For him, it should be pretty spot on because he's very pale. But everything is quite contextual. So I'm going to grab just a little bit of this pink here. Mix it with some of the whole red. I want to alter the bottom of his eyelid a little bit. Or this one. I want that to be slightly more pink. It's a little change, but it makes a difference to me. Good evening. Rubik's Cube. How are you? It's not perfect. It's not perfect, guys. funny thing is I can see better on the camera than I can even with the glasses. The camera has better zoom than my eyes do. Maybe if I had like the really crazy optivisors or something. Okay. Next thing. Red. Red. He is going to have blood red eyes. Hey, Rubik's Cube, get to painting. Okay. Something like that. And we can make adjustments to get it to the exact shape we want. Well, then you've had plenty of time to paint if she's been gone for, 7 weeks. That sounds like tons of painting time. Okay, that eye shape's pretty good. Now we got to do the same. We can go. Actually, I don't think I want to go too much darker with the red of his eyes, because I want to give them. I think I want to give his irises. Sorry, let me get in frame. I think I want them to have a slightly unnatural glow about them. Is there one? Joaquin, it's so if there is one, Joaquin, it's so small I didn't notice. Did I paint them in the same direction you had him looking? Just by coincidence, or was he looking more forward? Okay, now we're going to grab some of the red. Oh, that's coincidence then. I want just a touch of this yellow. This is only, I will only use this to highlight this red. No lo sé. There we go. That's the spooky glowing red that I'm looking for. Oh, I have a handy link right here. There you go. Mm-hmm. Beep, 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 beep. Where is the brush I'm looking for? This guy. Okay. Try one more time. There we go. And then just a touch of black in the center. A little something in the corner here. Let's clean that up a little bit. And then, all right, you guys ready? Gotta breathe. Take a breath. Dot. And even though this eye really wouldn't get the catch light, I put it anyways because I think it looks good. Because it's my model and I can if I feel like it. like to flip them over here, make sure I get this lower eyelid, or I guess upper eyelid. And then we will take some of this pink and the white. Ciao, Marco. How are you? We're under attack. Indeed. The Vladimir Stupish. Welcome, new people. Welcome. How are you? Good, my friend. How are you? Ciao, tutti. What were you working on? We are working on Gahliant, I think is how you say you're supposed to say his name. Gahliant from Epica Tales, sculpted by Joaquin Palacios. And yeah, just having some fun. Painting him like Dracula from Castlevania. Hi, Bricktop. Dracul. And I wanted to fix his lip shape there. It was kind of bothering me. This is very wet. There we go. Yeah, I mean, geez. I really enjoy painting these, like any kind of bust like this, just because you get to focus on, you know, the main focal points, right? It's what everybody cares about on the bust anyways, is the face. Thanks, Plank Walker. Bye, Marco. Thanks. If you guys aren't familiar, go check out Marco. I'm pretty sure most of you are familiar who Marco is, and check out his YouTube channel. In GM. Well, I guess Marco already ran, but do you guys know, is he coming to Adepticon? I can't remember. Oh, you're still here. Are you coming to Adepticon before you run? Then I will see you in 2 weeks. Stereo Mix Mike, hello, welcome. Thanks for following. Appreciate it. Guys, these new arrow brushes are goated for painting like eyes and stuff. They're the best at making dots. I'm just gonna say it. I don't ever want to paint eyes with a round brush ever again. We can go get pancakes. What is he, a gremlin? Don't feed him out after midnight? All right, I talked to Ricardo in Africa, and we will have to go get pancakes. I didn't say I was buying. Right. All right, so everything, right? Everything's going to get a little bit of that red mixed into it. So same with the beard, the hair. If we're going for that truly monochromatic color palette, we basically have to use red in everything. Now, when you're highlighting, when you're painting lights on black hair like this, you gotta be careful, because if you go too far, it's really easy to overdo it, and then it doesn't look black anymore, right? So be careful with how much lights you put in. It doesn't take a whole lot. We're going to focus the light towards this main view, because we're basically just painting the shine of the hair. We can give a little bit of volume to this other side, not too much. I don't use them for everything. In fact, I'm kind of just using it because it was in my hand. But I would probably prefer a round brush to do this. Like just a size 3 with a good point is perfect for doing hair. Right. Sebastian, you were in here before the raid. Why does it say you're a raider? Were you watching both streams at the same time? Okay. So say it just takes a little bit. Like Greg's on. A little bit of light on his eyebrow. And let's put one more if we want his hair to be kind of shiny. Yeah, don't overdo this. It's easy to overdo. But it's also easy to pull back if you do overdo it. So you can easily just go back over it with a glaze, grab some black in a glaze, and just darken it back down where you need. There we go. The Vladimir Szczepishki. Any other small adjustments? Cool. Let's zoom it out a little bit. What is a man? A miserable little pile of lies. Shara 2010, thanks for the follow. Yeah, let's give him a quick comparison to see the size difference. Here we go. It's just one slightly bigger than the other. All right. I think I'll take a quick break for a minute, and then when I come back, we can start base coating the other elements. I will be back in 5. Yeah. Brush that's been used. Newer brush. I don't smoke weed, it just makes me tired. It just makes me sleepy. Do I strike you as a pothead? Once a week, every Wednesday. Unless I'm on travel. Or extremely rare cases where I try and do every week unless I have a deadline that I'm like, oh God, I have to get this done. Thanks for the prime. Hi, Jonas. I'm good. How are you? Just here painting this luxurious vampire hair. Just trying to get a base coat on all this stuff. Yep. It's from Epica Tales. His brand with his wife. What other kind of content do you do? I just paint. I'm just a painter. What other kind of content do you want from me? You want me to, yeah. Want me to do a little dance? Sing a little song? Get down tonight? Yeah, I'm on YouTube. You can check out all the old VODs on YouTube. You haven't heard of me? I'm kind of a big deal. I'm Ron Burgundy? Oh yeah, it's Cartacci red. We all know what San Diego means. Look, we've got young watchers, okay? Okay, his brooch actually goes through the cape. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint over top of it. And I can go back and paint it later. All right, red. Here's the thing about red. You don't want to go much beyond red. The problem people run into where they're like, I'm going to paint red, and then they end up painting pink because they try and highlight it too much. No, just paint red. How do you paint red NMM? You look at pictures of Iron Man and you use that as reference. Typically, yeah, just black and red. You can use some purple. You can use a little, like I'm using a little of this light yellow here to add some. You can also mix a little lime green into it if you want, but you don't want to go too bright, because if you go too bright, it starts to lose its color, right? Like that still looks pretty red, but it'll start to get like really salmony. But it also depends on the material. Like silk is going to get a little more pink. But even then, silk can stay also quite red. Depends on the lighting. You can also use some dark greens to shadow it. You can use a lot of colors to shadow it. It has more to do with like how bright it gets, and it tends to just stay kind of red. Yeah, you could do that. I mean, you could use any color to lighten it if you wanted to glaze back over it with color to create texture. Like here, I don't really have a particular texture in mind to this cloak. Kind of just doing a sort of standard fabric. Maybe it's cotton or something. Or velvet, maybe. Some red velvet. Red velvet's going to need a lot more black in it, though. But the overall goal is we're just trying to throw some color on him since he's so desaturated. Make the cloak stand out a lot. And that red is very Dracula-esque. All right, so that's okay. Like, I'm all right with kind of where the lights are at for the moment. Now we need to really take it down into the shadows. So we can push the contrast this way instead of having to go way up in the light. This is also going to create a lot of contrast with his skin by having a darker fabric. The more dark tones we create, so the more darker reds we put on it, these like really deep crimson reds, the brighter that these, or the shinier the fabric is going to appear. Similar into how Jonas was asking how you do a non-metallic red. You have to have a lot of deep colors and then in very specific areas. So say I want to do a light red, right? Maybe I want just a little shine to the material. I can come in now and just in, this is just a few places. These are just highlights. Right? I can place some like shines here, but notice the majority of it is still red, right? So this slightly pinkish tone, this salmony pink, doesn't really distract from all the red because it's rather small. And it looks more just like a shine. And it's still quite red. Right, you could put just like a little shine there, and then I blend that out. This is definitely another thing of like the don't go overboard. Right, use this lighter tone sparingly. I mean, just look at a red if you want to see what it looks like, right? That's why I always recommend using reference. You can easily find pictures of like a red silk dress or something similar. Red satin. If there was less folds on this, I might consider like trying to do some kind of embroidery or brocade on it, but it's a little too folded for me to want to make the effort to try and do that. See ya. I don't get it, Sebastian. You're telling me that Cujo would have done a tartan on a Dracula? That's weird. I don't think he would. Okay, small adjustments here and there. Blend it out a little bit. This back part needs some better blending. All right, some of these areas like this, I can, if I need to blend these a little more, I could do little dots and things. I want to kill the brush strokes. I can paint little dots and then glaze back over top of it to smooth it out. I don't mind the brush strokes, I just don't want them to be too pronounced. We're quick around here, Jakul. You gotta keep up, man. Run off to grab breakfast. We're done. Finish the whole dang figure. Who's that? Tonshire. I have no idea how to say that, but thanks for following. All right, he's almost got a nice, I'm going to say velvety. It's kind of velvety. We'll go with that. Yeah. We might have to introduce another color. If we want to do the brooch, I don't think... Well, he's a vampire, so it definitely wouldn't be silver. So I guess it would have to be gold or platinum or something, but that seems too similar to silver. Unless Dracula doesn't care about silver, but... Can I get some lore checks? Got some Dracula lore experts in the chat. Does he, is he weak to silver? He doesn't care. He's just like, nah, whatever. Like, do you know who I am? I'm the OG. I'm the OV. original vampire. Hey, overrated. Thanks for the Prime, buddy. Appreciate that. All right, let's start. So if we want a very like black crimson-y hair, might be a little difficult for you guys to see. But basically the goal here is just going to be to cover some of this stuff up. Thanks, Crottenhurst. We're having fun. Yeah. Paint a little vampire. I'm happy with my black right now. I feel like it's not as black as it normally is. It's odd. Where's my other black? Maybe it's just running out and I need to get a new one. Here, we'll just throw on some carbon black real quick. Oh, it's making a mess. Whatever. Need to make sure these deep recesses are like, for you guys it looks black. For me it's like, it's not quite there. It's okay in some parts, but others it's like, feels a little grayish. I just want to make sure all these really deep parts are like actually black. Alright, that's better. You guys even see the difference in that? Probably not, huh? Well, you've seen me paint hair before. What other little part can we do real quick? Line the brooch. Clasp, I don't know. Guys, what's the difference between a brooch and a clasp? Is there? Does a brooch have no purpose and a clasp specifically does? These are important questions that I need to know. Could come up in trivia one day. I think a brooch is a pin, but if I were to get, I don't know, that looks, they could have a pin through it. What's the thing that, all the little leaf things that the hobbits or the Fellowship wears on their cloaks in Lord of the Rings, are those brooches or clasps? I don't know. Inquiring minds need to know, though. Not quite perfectly happy with this transition on his face. There is a brooch clasp also. A C clasp features a long, strong metal pin which is used to attach the brooch to your clothing which is then secured by a C-shaped piece of metal. It looks like a C-shaped piece of metal to me. Then the pin, that the pin can be hooked underneath, securing it in place. These clasps were popular throughout the Victorian era. And he seems like a Victorian kind of era dude. So I would say that it is both. It is, in fact, a brooch clasp. Mystery solved. Thanks, Gary. We did it. Figured it out, boys. Where's my gold? All right, I am going to add a little bit of color. Just a touch. Just so that, just a splash. I know we said we were going to be going monochromatic. God, I hate when they do this. This is the only thing I don't like about Chimera paints. Bottle always. I think there's a way to prevent that. I think you like slam it down on the table or something. But we're going to go real desaturated gold. Just for some of these details. There's two little details I want to paint on him that I need a gold color for. So we're almost going to, even though it's yellow, we're going to go for like an almost greenish gold. And we're going to paint the trim of his shirt. Gold, and then the little C-class gold, and probably his belt buckle, actually. Because even though we did not come to a consensus on whether Dracula is weak to silver or not, I feel like it's an additional storytelling element to just not include any silver on him. It's the little things. Hey, it's barely gold. And that whole silver thing, is that like a thing that gets confused with werewolves? Because aren't werewolves the one that hates silver? Let's talk about using silver bullets and stuff on them. And then somehow that's also gotten associated with vampires. Okay. Did we just ask ChatGPT? I mean, if you're going by Witcher lore, all he just uses silver on every monster. Boom. That works. And then because well, we're not doing a reflection of the sun here. I'm just going to use a little bit of that blue to desaturate this gold, get it kind of just a little shine on the end. Because we're not really trying to do anything crazy with the gold. Just needed something to create that little trim around his collar. All right, so if this is our main viewing angle, we're going to go with the main reflection of the brooch clasp right here. Something like that. And then we can add a little bit more of the gold back in, a little mid-tone gold. And then kind of final highlight. And just add a little shine to it. There we go. Okay. See, if we mix some whole red and some of the blue, it almost gives us this like kind of purplish feeling color. Can use that for the leather. Don't need to do too much to the leather here. It faces away from the light. Really just need to get some of the edges of the belt on there. We can put a little bit of a shine. If we want to put a small amount of reflection, maybe towards the end, like where it starts to curl up. Just to give it some shape. Zoom in a little tiny bit for you guys. If you really want to see how to paint black leather, you can go back and watch the, I don't remember what part it is, but the MMA fighter did a whole bunch of black leather on him, so. Get a little more in depth with it. But I think that will work. And then what else? What's the last thing to do? I guess I can paint the belt buckle gold real fast just to see it, and probably skip on doing the hair just because you guys have seen me do hair a million times, and it's quite hard to see the black hair on camera. Got a little bit of the belt buckle there. Okay, and then one more little highlight. I want to get this bottom edge nice and clean. Oh. All right. Well, I've got to do the hair, and the ears. But I think that should give you guys a pretty good idea. Any questions on this guy? Did I put everybody to sleep? Cool. There's a little bit of gray showing. I'll get rid of that. Beep 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 beep. Bum 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 bum. Dude, the best Castlevania song is the Colosseum music in Symphony of the Night. Bum 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 bum. Well, the back is basically all just hair, so so right now, very dark compared to the front. But I have to paint all the hair, so